All right, in this lesson, we're going to walk you through the steps of signing up to a typical host provider. We're going to use Inmotion Hosting. And if you are planning to follow along with our tutorial series on how to build your own Joomla website, I would recommend that you also sign up to Inmotion Hosting. Their pricing structure is very competitive with most of the other web host providers out there that are offering quality service. And at least for the first few months while you're using our tutorial service, if you are working with the same host provider that we are as we record these tutorials, then we are going to be working in the same environment. The problems that you might run up against are the same challenges that we might be facing as we partner together with Inmotion Hosting. If you are signed up to a completely different host provider, they may be using software that isn't even available here at Inmotion Hosting. For example, I think GoDaddy, if you signed up with them, they are using a control panel that is completely different than what Inmotion Hosting uses. And so the steps that we point out to you using the software at Inmotion Hosting wouldn't be applicable to your situation. So while you're taking this course, I recommend that you go with Inmotion Hosting. If you decide to go with something else, the very least that you should do is make sure that whatever host provider you go with is using the Easy Control Panel, or cPanel for short. If your host provider that you go with is using cPanel, then most of the things that we show you in our tutorial series will be very similar to what you are using with the cPanel on your provider. All right, so what do we do to sign up? Here's the homepage of Inmotion Hosting. We see that they have the basic 3 levels of hosting that we talked about: business hosting, which is really shared servers, the VPS hosting, and the dedicated servers. Reseller hosting is just kind of a repackaged shared server package designed maybe more for those that are wanting to design websites for clients. You can set up compartmentalized control panels for your clients. All right, so the one that we're going to go with is the shared server hosting. One of the benefits of doing that with Inmotion Hosting is they have the SSD hard drives that we talked about that are up to 20 times faster, at least that's what they advertise here, than spinning drives. And so that does really help with the speed when people migrate to your website. Now, within this shared server package, there's 3 options. You could go with as low as $4.89 a month, at least $4.89 if you choose to sign up for 2 years. But we don't want you to commit yourself to a 2-year contract. And at that level, they don't even allow you to do a month-to-month. You have to at least sign up for 12 months. So that's maybe not the best plan. Actually, if you wanted to have the least amount of commitment, you should go with the Pro plan and sign up for the month-to-month plan, which is $13.29 a month. At least it's $13.29 a month right now. That figure can change. Don't be surprised if you get a different amount. In fact, this morning when I opened up Inmotion Hosting on a different browser, I got a different price point level. You know, this is the same day, just a different browser, and I'm getting $17.99 as the 1 month or the month-to-month commitment. The reason I think for the difference on the same day is because when I was recording my last tutorial, you will remember that I was talking about the web hosting review sites and how they get a commission when you click through. And I think what I may have done is actually, while I was visiting some of these review sites, I actually did click through to Inmotion Hosting, and these are the prices that I'm getting when I click through from one of those review sites. And so it looks like Inmotion Hosting is paying their commissions out of a different price structure that people arrive at when they click through from a review site. And this isn't something that goes away. If you've been reviewing these different sites while you're doing your shopping for a web host provider, you can close your browser, even shut down your computer, and the next day when you go shopping, even if you go directly to the web host provider, not through the review sites, it's going to remember that you were looking at some of those review sites, and it's going to bring you to some of these higher prices. So fortunately, I had not clicked through some of these review sites on a different browser, and I was able to arrive directly at Inmotion Hosting fresh and clean with no cookies assigned that was going to jack up my price. Now, one thing to notice, if you do go month to month, you do have to do a $40 setup fee, whereas if you commit to 6 months, it's a free setup. So in reality, you could sign up for 6 months and not actually be paying much more than you would if you signed up for the 1 month. So this is probably the best option to go for when you're signing up to Inmotion Hosting. You could save a little bit more if you chose the 1-year package, but I realize that you might be just kind of checking out the possibility of whether or not you yourself can build a website, and you may not want to commit yourself to a whole year while you're taking this course. So I would recommend maybe going for the 6-month plan for now. And once you get rolling and you decide that this is something that you really want to try, you can either adjust that program or you can actually move your site to a different host provider like WiredTree. All right, so that's the one that we're going to go for. I'm actually going to set up a new account here, and that way I can take you through the process step by step of how to get started with your web host provider. All right, let's get started. Hit continue, and the next screen confirms the plan that we chose, and the next box asks whether you want to purchase a domain name at this time. Most of you probably already have done that. So if you already have yours already registered, just click the next radio button there and type in the domain name that you registered. Mine was vividmediaproductions.com, and hit continue. Confirm that the information is right. Hit continue again. If you're living in North America, it's asking to decide whether you want to be signed up in the east part of the U.S., presumably, or the west part. And if you're living somewhere down the middle, you're not sure, you could probably click that. I'm living more towards the east. So personal information, this probably needs to line up with whatever credit card you're planning to use, so the billing address will be the same. Premium anti-spam and antivirus with McAfee. The default is no thanks. I'd probably stay with that. Content Management System Auto Installer. Since this is going to be a class on Joomla, you might think, okay, let's have them install Joomla for me. But I would recommend just keeping this off, and that will give us more control as to what version of Joomla we install when we get started. Okay, and then your credit card information, and let's see if there's PayPal. Doesn't look like they offer PayPal, but hopefully most of you will have a credit card option or debit card option that you can use at this point. Okay, I'm going to put you on pause while I enter my personal information, and then we'll get back to you. All right, if you were able to successfully complete that form and your financial information was accepted, you should be facing a order confirmation screen, something like this, that your order has been received and your payment has been processed, and that you should expect a welcome email at the email account that you provided in the form. And it looks like you may also get a phone call too from somebody at Inmotion Hosting. If you signed up from abroad, like Europe or India, Southeast Asia, there's a good chance that you are not looking at this order confirmation page, and that they are going to need to call you and set up some way to confirm that your payment is not a fraudulent payment before they set you up with a server. There's some work involved in getting you set up, and they don't want to take the steps of setting up a server for someone who may have used a fraudulent method of payment. So if you're from abroad, you may have to jump through a few more hoops before you really get started. Otherwise, if you're from North America, you should be expecting a welcome email and a welcome phone call very shortly. All right, well, I think that does it on this lesson on how to sign up for a web host account.